This may be the only time I get to film facing this wall, so bear with me. My cat will be making meows occasionally, so let's just get into it. I'm going to put my glasses on for this because we're going to be talking books. I feel like I come off as more intelligent if I'm wearing glasses. It's a bad trope, but hey, it works. So, if you are new to my channel, I have started doing quite a few book reviews, and I'm really enjoying it because if you didn't already know, I love reading books. If I'm not making videos, if I'm not drawing or writing, which is my other two hobbies, like I'm reading a book, so yeah, I will continue to do them, and I'm hoping to build like a book community, and I really want to showcase a lot of like indie books or books that not many people are talking about, which leads me to my next book that I'll be talking about today, which is Apple: Sex, Drugs, Motherhood, and the Recovery of the Feminine. I'm going to show it to you up close so you can see it. It's such a great cover of a book. As soon as, when they say covers are really important, they really mean it, because as soon as seeing this cover was one of the reasons why I wanted to pick this book up. And on Goodreads, it's still only got like 10 reviews. I know not everything on Goodreads is like matters in real life, but it just goes to show how many people have not heard about this author or her work. And I was lucky enough to get to know Antonella Gambotto-Burke, not personally. I wish I knew her personally, but I don't. She is a literary critic for The Australian, which one of my books, I was lucky enough to be featured in the Australian Review, which is like our national newspaper in Australia. And so she reviews some of the books, and thanks to her recommendations, I have read quite a few incredible works. So I really wanted to read her original writing, and this was my introduction to her, and I'm really, really glad that I read it. So yeah, I just showed an apple, which is obviously I was going to do the thumbnail, so I was like, it would be perfect. I was just like thinking of it for days, like this. It's not really original, but it's like, so. And since I read this book, I've been starting reading apples again, eating. I've used this as an excuse to start eating apples again, not reading apples. I'm not like going to apples and going, and then the dog went, oh, you know, I'm not doing that. Oh, that's what my cat said. She's just, she did not like the mention of dog, obviously. So, bear with me as I'll be eating an apple while talking about this book. I'll try not to be too annoying. So, first things first, this book is, I just don't know where to begin, because it is, I'll stop chewing, but it is an absolute, it's not just an average book that someone will pick up and be like, oh, based on the title, it's going to be about feminism, obviously sex, drugs, the female anatomy, you know, that's just obviously the stereotype someone will have when they pick up this book. But it's actually more than that. It really is much more than that. And it is not just feminism. Like, it covers absolutely everything in human history. It mentions men just as much as women, because one thing people get wrong about feminism is that it's just only women's stuff. That is exactly not what this book is about. It is for everyone, all genders. And it talks, what I find really interesting is it talks about how feminism is actually, it comes from the men as well. Like, we couldn't have feminism, like think about feminism in the way we do today, without the help of men. And obviously it could come across as a bit, well, duh, you know, why would we wouldn't be feminists if men were actually being equal to us or whatever. But in reality, men just have a problem with their feminine side, and that's what I've been learning a lot from, not just this book, but quite a lot of magazine articles, a lot of stuff that I've read have consistently stuck to this point of men have a problem with their feminine side, which is why they, you know, might do outrageous things. It doesn't give them an excuse to do that, no way, but it's sort of giving us a perspective as to why there might be some inequality there. Or, I'll stop moving around this book. But, yeah, it was just, she talks about that quite a lot in this book, which is obviously why at the bottom of the title it talks about the feminine, because that's just really important for both men, how men are made up, and women. And obviously when we think of femininity, I immediately was brought back to the quote by Simone de Beauvoir, which obviously I was so lucky to read her book, The Second Sex. It was very difficult, long book to read. But I'm proud of myself for reading it. And it talks, one of her famous quotes, obviously, I think anyone knows this, whether they've read her book or not, is, one is not born, but rather becomes woman. And I think ever since I obviously heard that quote, it's like probably one of the only things I can remember from that book. Like, I obviously can look back and think of quite a lot of stuff. Like, her book was like published in like the 1940s, but she's like before all the Beatles and stuff, but she's predicting, you know, there's obviously idols that young girls have, and like eating, she talks about eating disorders. Like, she was way ahead of her time. And but I'll try not to get too off topic. But this is basically our generation's version of The Second Sex. I'm just surprised that no one has heard about this book, because if they did, I guarantee it'll be on all the New York Times bestseller lists. Absolute banger of a book, and I'm not going to try and give it too much away, because it's not the kind of book that you can just try and summarize, because it's just got quite a lot to it. But all I can say is that well, she says at the back, you will never see anything the same way again. And that's definitely the case. She's not making that up. As soon as I read this book, I was like, there's no way I'm just gonna It was very good that I picked up this book. I would highly recommend it. And also, you might find that you would like to eat apples again. That's what I learnt. And thank you, Antonella. Obviously, other than that, I learnt really important stuff that without this book I would never know about. So, if you think you know a lot about femininity, or you think you know a lot about whether you're a man or a woman, whether you think you know everything about what's going on, you might be the most liberal person. Once you read this book, you'll be like, I just missed out on so much stuff. Like, where was I? Like, she's reporting on all this undercover stuff. And also, thanks to her, I learnt that Nick Cave is an absolute asshole, which I would not have known about had I not read this book. Like, I obviously didn't like Nick Cave's music to start with, but after reading this book, I was like, what a fucking asshole. So, I'm really sorry that happened to her. She did not deserve that at all. So if you want to find out what exactly happened to her, I recommend you read it. I'm definitely going to recommend it to my mum, because it's really essential. It talks about, just how, in the end, the lack of love that someone experiences, or even, when they're born, when they're first born. Yeah, this book really covers in great detail, and so, my time is nearly up on this video, but please read, or put it on your Goodreads, whatever reading works you find. I might even try and give some away. Like, if I get to the point I reach 1K subscribers, which you could help me do, I would be more than happy to buy you guys copies of this. I'm not joking, because it is such a good book. And the world would probably be a little bit better. It's not going to change the world, but it will definitely make an impact if more people knew about this. So, what are you doing? Get off Instagram and read this book. And eat an apple. I'm trying to end this video on a thumbnail. I'm really bad at thumbnail. I'm so gross.